Kia ora koutou, my name is Tamar Weisz-Koves and I'm the Program Director of the Graduate Diploma in Teaching Early Childhood Education.
Kia ora, I'm Esther Fitzpatrick. I'm the Program Director for the Graduate Diploma Teaching Primary.
Kia ora, my name is Marsh. I'm the Practicum Leader for the Graduate Diploma in Secondary Teaching. People ask about the benefits of choosing teaching as a career, and one of the things I say to the grads very early on in each academic year is I get them to repeat back to me that intelligent people need challenging work. Working with humans is extraordinarily challenging. It will always be challenging. And the intrigue about teaching is that the situation, the context in which we teach is dynamic. We teach similar but not the same students year on year, that there is always a new level of challenge. And sometimes we would like the challenge to be reduced. Sometimes there's too much challenge on a Friday afternoon, but it's the challenge that keeps bringing us back. And if we can teach a really effective lesson, a really effective day, good heavens, maybe a really effective week, it's hugely satisfying to feel the aha kind of eureka moments that happen in the classroom, but to provide opportunities for our learners to engage and do their own learning, and that's the benefit of entering teaching as a career. It will be infinitely challenging, but infinitely intriguing as well.
I think, and it's about learning, and we're all lifelong learners, and I think if you choose to become a teacher, you're really embarking on a journey of lifelong learning. And I mean, I've been involved in education now for 30 plus years, and I think there's always something to learn. Things are always changing, and from that point of view, you're never stagnant. You're always growing and learning, and again, that's a really, really satisfying. Yeah, so to give you an overview of the Graduate Diploma in Teaching ECE, traditionally it's been an intensive one-year program that goes from January to early December. However, we now offer a two-year part-time pathway, and students can choose whether they study face-to-face on campus or whether they study online. And the program is made up of 75 points each semester, a range of subjects, and students go out for 17 weeks of practicum. They go out twice in semester one, and they go out for a final practicum in semester two.
Yeah, the grad primary is very much aligned with the ECE. We begin about mid-January and early December. There's the flexibility of working online or face-to-face, and you can also work part-time. And this has been really valuable for many of our students who are carers in the community or who are working part-time, and it's just given them that flexibility to organise and manage their own time while they engage with a qualification which gets them into a different sort of working space. The other thing that we've introduced just recently is the mid-year intake, and that's again started to create a little bit more flexibility. So I've got some students who are part-time who are picking up courses in semester two this year that they previously couldn't do because we just had the 2 semesters, if you like. What we're looking for is ways in our online programs how it can reach into some of those rural communities, and that we can engage with the schools and our potential students in those communities to give them qualifications so they can teach into the communities they live in. And we're seeing some really exciting happenings in there. I think it's really exciting, actually, what we're seeing in those spaces, and what going online has afforded us, and the ways that we can support our students with this big beast of a university in Auckland, but able to support students way out in our rural communities. I think it's so important, yeah.
There's a good point about the flexibility of the online program as well. What we really found that once we opened that up, and it was one of the reasons I wanted to open up a part-time option as well, is we have a lot of unqualified teachers who have already been working in early childhood centres, and so now those people can enrol in our program, and it's really great to have them on board because they're already working in the sector, and now they can become qualified. And that's going to have a really positive influence on themselves and their children and communities.
Yeah, we've had schools approach us and ask us if we can support them to train their teacher aides, you know, and it's another sort of body. And then we've got LATs, the limited authority to teach. You know, usually people who've taught overseas, trained overseas, and coming here and then haven't got our qualification, but it doesn't restrict them from actually working, which has been so beneficial for them. And looking at ways that we can support them in that practicum space also with that. Yeah. So what do you do in secondary that's different to ECE?
In the grad dip secondary, we have for a very long time had a large face-to-face cohort, but for the last 2 years we've also been able to offer an online version of the program, which is growing. It's a beginning of February to end of October qualification. Students enrol in a full-time course of study, and they need to be prepared for that. And they also need to be prepared for the fact that there will be 2 practicum placements during the year, totaling 16 weeks. They're arranged slightly out of balance. We put more practicum in the first semester because schools are more open to having pre-service teachers on campus at that time, and there's slightly less, a 7-week block of placement in the third term. And the online and face-to-face students do their practicums at exactly the same time. So the courses replicate one another, except that, of course, online students can be anywhere across the motu, and the face-to-face students need to be here present. People coming to the grad dip secondary, the Teaching Council stipulation about their curriculum background is that they must have stage 3 papers, at least 3 stage 3 papers in a subject that directly relates to a curriculum area taught in a secondary school. So science, maths, social science, languages, arts grads are fairly straightforward. Visual arts, there are complications around other subject areas, but often we can make it work in as much as we can help the undergrad translate their university experience into a teaching qualification that relates to things that are happening in the New Zealand secondary schools.
Brian, you know, with our grad dip primary students who have also a qualification in particular disciplines, they do the 1-year grad dip primary. In what ways can they engage with secondary if they choose later? I've taught alongside many people in secondary schools who are primary trained is the old language, who are qualified with a graduate diploma primary or another primary pathway qualification. Under tomorrow's schools, it's the role of the school and the board of the school, ultimately the principal, I suppose, to decide who is the best applicant for a position inside the school. So yes, it's very flexible, and people move sometimes from primary to intermediate and into secondary schools with the same qualification. Yeah, interesting.
I know you've asked me something similar to do with early childhood education before, and there is a bit of movement between ECE and primary, and it's really depends on the discretion of the school whether they accept an ECE qualification, and we do have a lot of primary trained teachers who work in early childhood as well.
Undergraduates often finish a degree and feel a bit lost. Like, what am I going to do with this? They had an exciting time learning about literature or social sciences, and then they're looking for a job. And teaching offers them a pathway, and I think you talked about this before too, Brian, that's really quite exciting, where they can bring in some of this fabulous knowledge that they've obtained and the skills and put them into practice, and the learning doesn't stop there either. And so it is a place that they can develop a qualification to actually have a job, which is quite important, I think, in our community. That is a very useful one where they can make a difference, and their learning doesn't have to stop there.
Absolutely, and they can maintain the contact with the content material that excited them in the first place. So if they're an absolute history buff, then they're entering a profession in which they can continue to sustain their interest in history as a curriculum area and learn the accompanying pedagogical skills of teaching and learning alongside those. So if it enables them to continue to do their own personal learning and to stay in touch with the content that excited them originally in the first place.
I think it gives people a really strong focus. It's sort of, rather than just looking for a job, actually, it's sort of like it's really career focused. It's the beginning of a worthwhile career. And like you said, you get to draw on and build on whatever passions you had from your undergraduate studies and bring that to who you are as a teacher.
Yeah.